necessarily hold, unless, again, you come back and you put in 4 stretchers on the top, 4 stretchers on the bottom. But if you're buying turned legs and you're looking to make it into a coffee table, you know, you ain't gonna have a stretcher down there in the bottom. And so and again, the sad part is most of the guys that are sitting here probably already have an idea of what they need to take and do. That's why I was hoping the other gentleman would show up, because he's learning woodworking. He's first getting into it. Most of us here, I think, have probably already done a fair amount of it. And
I think you need to concentrate on what the appearance is going to be, because the vertical, you know, even if it's pine, I mean, that can carry an awful lot of vertical, you know, weight. Yeah, when you move it, you got to be concerned, so you pick it up. You know, you just don't slide it.
Right.
But I think the proportions have more sense to consider, again, on visually what's it going to look like, how tall is it going to be, and I don't know that I've ever thought about proportions other than what's it going to look like.
There are formulas.
Is that right?
Published formulas, yeah, and you can get books on it. And, but you know, what looks good is good. You know, trust your eye, and that's where the artistry in this comes in. You know, what looks good, and there are rules like less is more. You know, keep it simple, stupid. But you know, if you're building a workbench where you're going to have a lot of lateral force on it, you want beefy legs.
Sure. You
want beefy rails and beefy stretchers, and you want good, strong joinery. You know, whereas if you're building an elegant table, you can get spindly little legs and put curves on them and all kinds of stuff, and it all fits. But if you do one thing, that usually drives you into doing something else as far as the design goes and the structure goes.
Well, you go back to appearances. Appearances, of course, the first thing. Then, of course, function.
Well, it depends. If it's a work
If
table,
you're making a cabinet, for example, or I'm doing my kitchen right now, and drawers. There are formulas for drawers, certain sizes. I don't care. I'm going to make the drawer as deep as I want it to serve the purpose I'm using.
Sure.
I built a bathroom vanity. It's got 12 drawers and 2 doors. Okay, this one needs to be about this thick, and this one to match that. And
Sure.
that's the way I built it.
Sure.
And people go, my goodness, this nice big drawers. How'd you figure that out?
Yeah, but then you don't want to do what my wife is, fill them all with glass.
You do what?
Fill them all with glass. I made some big, deep drawers thinking they're going to be for towels or something, right? Well, now she puts glass bowls and got 300 pounds of weight in it.
You need better slides.
I got to redo this drawer. So there's your function, understanding what
But
it's
if you
going
do
to
the
be
two,
used
yeah,
for.
you're right. Like silverware. It doesn't need much of a slide.
That's right.
Or fits function.
That's right. Yeah.
So, if you were building a table, you're building a small, elegant table, do you start at the bottom or the top?
Well, with the design, I usually start with some type of prototype layout on a piece of paper, and then a lot of the guys go to cardboard or go to just so that they can see it all together and see how it's going to work in dimension, you know, 3 dimensions.
Right.
Yeah, I just start throwing things together.
That's the way I do. I draw it out. You know, I'll first draw it out on just a rough piece of paper just to get a rough idea. Then if I sort of like that, then I literally will draft it. I'll go back to my 9th grade drafting class, you know, and I'll draft it out and make make sure I understand dimensions, cuts, and everything else that I have to make. So I try to plan it all out ahead of time. And then when I actually build it, I change it.
Always looks like this. That's
I didn't think about that piece.
That's where the prototype comes in. If it's a complicated piece and you're building something that you're going to charge $20,000 for, you know, usually those guys build prototypes, or they build 15 of them, you know.
Yeah.
And the 15th one usually never looks like the first one.
That's right. Yeah.
you know.
I don't even bother with the
Involves-
drawing step. I just start building.
I do only because I'm not, when I start doing things, I don't necessarily think it all the way through, and I waste a lot of, I've discovered over the years I waste a lot of stuff because I just didn't plan it, right? And so if I take the time to draw it out, then I make fewer mistakes.
What are you making?
I make just about anything. You know, I make clocks, you know, I make furniture, you know, I build houses, you know, cabinets.
But like you say on the clock.
The only thing I don't do is turn wood.
Clock, you know, I think you jolly well please.
Mhm.
I made several of them are shaped like a note, a musical note,
Mhm.
and different things. You can make them shaped like a horse or anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about proportions there, they like, when I unload the dishwasher, my wife put glasses up there, it amazes me every time, a certain number of glasses fit exactly that cabinet. So they were, set up that way, of course, what goes into things, there's a design, there's a plan,
That's your function.
and that, yeah,
Years ago, I
I would've
picked
just built a cabinet up
up,
there.
I picked up an architectural
too.
design book several years ago, and in the back section of that book identifies what the normal proportions are.
Yeah.
You know, cabinet heights, stair rails, you know, and so it gives you a rough idea. So again, depending on what I'm building, I sometimes will just flip back to that and say, okay, the desk, if you're gonna build a desk, you know, what's the standard height for a desk? Because I don't have a mat. I don't
Go
have
into
to
your
look at.
office and look at the desk and measure it, and see what.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if I don't have something to look at,
Yeah.
then I'll go back there and flip it around and look at it.
Countertops are another thing. How high do you make them?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I'm
this
doing the
height.
kitchen.
Right
How high do you want it?
That's how I make it.
I'm not making my countertops the standard height. I'm making them the height that I like
Sure.
and my wife likes. If the next guy comes along and doesn't like it, that's his problem.
Well, a lot of the cabinets, the sizes, when you're talking plus or minus a couple of inches, and drawers particularly, depends on what the cabinet maker can get the most material, you know, most efficient use out of his
Yeah.
material.
That's right. That's correct. And I don't care. I'm gonna do the best I can.
You know, like the depth of your cabinets, if you go over 24 inches, now that's gonna cost you money.
That's right.
Or over
And
20
height is the same way.
That plywood is a
Yeah.
4x8 sheet.
Yeah.
And if it's about 35 inches tall, you're not gonna do a dishwasher. You gotta have some minimum standards.
Yes.
Same thing with
Exactly
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's why mine are higher instead of lower.
Now, okay.
You know, the depth of your drawers, your cabinet might go back 24 inches, but you notice on commercial cabinets, the drawers don't.
That's right.
Because if you go over 20 inches, now you lose a run on that 60-inch piece of plywood.
Well, my 24-inch counters right now have 18-inch drawers. Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, the new kitchen will not.
Well, when I did mine, of course, I said, hey, I'm doing it for myself, I'll eat the loss on the wood, and yeah, you end up using it someplace else, but in a cabinet shop, you know, they'd be taking that stuff out by the truck, waste out by the truckload, they get a year.
You know, it's interesting you talking about a cabinet shop. I met a fellow a couple of weeks ago, one of my wife's students, Dad, works for one of the cabinet shops. I can't tell you which ones yet, I forgot which one, I'll tell you. And he's done a whole bunch of stuff that they do. They don't buy they're buying the drawers and the doors now from different vendors. They can't make them as cheap as they can buy them. Because just exactly what you're talking about, they've got these factories set up to make drawers and doors.
Sure.
And they crank them up by the thousands.
You know, the cabinet maker that I've been using in the houses that I built, he has just gone to pre-made drawers. They're dovetailed, that they make them. Of course, instead of using Baltic birch and building himself, this stuff is finger jointed, and it's hardwood, so that they can, because it's hardwood, they're able to machine dovetails into it, and they're pre-finished, and I think they look cheap. I just do not like it.
Well, I'm building my own, obviously, because I agree with that. But cabinet shops are not doing that. As Jay has said many times, he's right. A lot of these cabinet shops are not cabinet shops at all. They just assemble.
Well, you know, custom cabinets shops, they may buy doors and they may buy drawers, but they're still a custom cabinet shop, because they're going in and they're designing a piece, and they're building it, they're not just assembling a bunch of boxes. You know, it's custom design in length and size, drawer depth, and you can ask for anything you want.
Well, according to this gentleman, the drawers come any size you want, you just tell them.
Well, I know, and that's what I'm saying, but the cabinet shop is the one that's gonna come out to your job, they're gonna look at it, they're gonna design it, and then they're gonna, you know, buy drawers, and now, the guy that I use still does his own drawers. The only thing he's gonna do is drawers. And all the guys in the shop are, you know, none of them are happy with their jobs.